In Luke chapter 23, verses 38 through 39, it says this: There was a written notice above him which read, "This is the King of the Jews." One of the criminals who hung there hurled insults at him. "Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and us."
So during this passage that I just read, Jesus is mocked as King of the Jews during his crucifixion. But it reminds me a lot of Josephus' account of Herod the Great in the Jewish War. So Josephus was a first century historian, and he's writing about Herod the Great, who is the same guy who tried to kill Jesus in the Gospels. And here Josephus is talking about how Mark Antony, who's a Roman general, he is advocating for Herod the Great to become king of the region of Judea in the Roman Empire, about 4 decades before Jesus is born. So here, Josephus writes this about Herod the Great. Mark Antony decided on the spot that the man he had once made tetrarch should now be king of the Jews. So here, Herod the Great is kind of considered as king of the Jews, just like how Jesus was mockingly considered king of the Jews. So Herod the Great eventually became voted in and approved as king of Judea by the Roman Senate. And then once he gets his job and gets exalted as king, Mark Antony throws a banquet for Herod the Great to celebrate. And it reminds me of the marriage supper of the Lamb, in which we celebrate Jesus' exaltation as king. But in this case, it's Herod the Great being exalted as king about 4 decades before Jesus is born. But here's the thing, there's so much irony in this, because Jesus and Herod the Great rose to power in 2 completely different ways. Like, they became king. Like, one became king, Jesus became king through, sacrifice, selflessness, and embodying God's will. And then Herod the Great became king by political maneuvering, violence, and transactional relationships. And both of them were considered king of the Jews, but one was mocked, and then the other was seriously considered king of the Jews. But the thing is, Jesus was rejected by man, but in God's eyes, he is the true king, and the true king that Herod the Great desired to be but will never become.